So while the screen is warming up, my part to play in this is brief. Last month, I had a chance to present to the community the work that we've completed as a result of a 6-month compilation of efforts on behalf of parents and students, our portrait of a graduate, right? The philosophical underpinnings that will continue to shape how and why we choose to do what we do here in our schools. And what came as a result of that were 2 things. One was 10 tenets that I shared, and it's up on the website for anyone that hasn't had a chance to see it, of the things that you, the community, that our students, that our teachers, that our administrators, community groups support, right? What are those 10 things that are philosophically important to us here in Farmingdale, and how, over the course of the next several years, we will continue to embed those 10 tenets into everything that we do. When we do curriculum writing, how do you make sure that those 10 tenets live within the confines of curriculum writing? When we have a parent meeting, how do you make sure that we're talking about the things that are specifically relevant? When we celebrate the accomplishments of our students, how do we make sure that those 10 tenets are a part of what we do in our celebration of students or their successes? One of the things that we spoke about as part of that work were commitments that we were making to the community. So within the confines of the 10 tenets, we were going to make 3 commitments. And one of those commitments was about safety. And it was both about the wellness of our students, right, the social emotional health of our students, making sure that we have all the right support services in place so that they feel emotionally supported, but also the physical safety of our students was something else that the board was looking to focus in on for the upcoming school year. So without further ado, I'm going to turn this over in just a minute to Mr. Zakian, who's going to take the board and the community through a presentation on safety and security. It's really broken down into 3 pieces. The first piece is about what we have in place, and he'll talk through a little bit with you about why we're reserving some of the particulars, obviously, because we don't want to get too deep into the weeds from a public-facing standpoint about our protocols and how we respond to things. But he will take you through the parameters of what we have in place in order to provide a physically safe environment, and then about things that we're doing to improve it, because like everything else, even though we might be good in certain regards, there are ways in which we can get better. So he'll take you through some of the things that we're going to be doing in order to try to improve upon our safety and security here. And the last piece is something that's important to us, which is accountability systems. Great that you're doing X, Y, and Z. How do you know it's having its intended effect? Some of the survey work that we're going to be doing with the community and with our students to make sure that we are coming full circle back around, that the efforts that we are making are in fact creating a safer environment and are in fact making us feel safer. So again, without further ado, I'll turn it over to Mr. Zakian. I will come back because, again, we have a second presentation coming up in a little bit with regard to the tax levy. But for now, Mr. Zakian, safety and security.
Thank you, Mr. Defendini. As Mr. Defendini said, first of all, I want to greet and welcome the board members tonight, the members of our community who are here tonight in person to view this, and those who are viewing this remotely. We look at this, and I understand when you think of the tenets that we've come up with for the portrait of a graduate, you may think curriculum-driven items, things along those lines, but I can assure you that safety and security within the district is paramount to effectively putting whatever we're teaching, whatever we're learning, and however we're working in place. So we're going to talk about, as Mr. Ebendini said, some of the infrastructure work that we have. Some of it you've experienced before, some of you haven't. Some of what we will discuss will appropriately be left out because we cannot disclose specific items so that we do not compromise some of the safety procedures that we have in place. I'm going to be able to show you a portion of a video that we share with our teachers who will look at the video. They will have a lockdown system, one of our protocols that we have in place, and it helps our teachers to rehearse and practice what the expectations are. You'll be able to see a large portion of what our lockdown system is. Then we'll talk about security within the district moving forward. So first a little, make sure, Jeff, we're going to get this moving. Hold on, please. Sorry for this. Okay. So first, a little background. The importance of this, of safety and security, is that feeling safe, feeling comfortable, feeling secure goes hand in hand with the learning process that our students go through. And their well-being and learning is as important to us as any other safety measure that we have in place. School safety plays a crucial role in a student's development and their academic success. The students who feel safe at school, both physically and emotionally, tend to have better emotional health and are less likely to engage in risky behaviors. Conversely, students who do not feel supported and not safe at school, both physically and psychologically, cannot learn to their fullest potential. And we clearly recognize this, which is why we focus so hard on these parameters. There is no one specific item that is going to solve all of our problems. Safeguarding our students is something that I know keeps me up at night, keeps Mr. Defendini up at night, to think about, unfortunately, what you see and hear about worldwide, not only in schools, but in theaters or malls, whatever else. And we do not, I promise you, we do not take for granted the fact that you send to us your most cherished possession on a daily basis, and you expect that child to come home to you. As parents, as teachers, as students, as employees, we all want that. And that's why we work so diligently with everybody that we can, from families to engage what we do, which is part of what tonight's process is, to working with our local police departments, on and on and on, to get these roles and these formations accomplished. There have been numerous physical plant upgrades. I'm going to discuss some things that you've seen already, that you experience whenever you come to our schools, as well as some new items. And I'm going to talk about them, and you will also be seeing them on the video as we move forward. So one of the first items that we have put in place to kind of secure our buildings are the limited access vestibules. Some of you may have heard, it's a slang term called a man trap. And these are put in place to guide any visitors to our building in order to gain entrance. All of our buildings are in a constant state of lock-out, which means our perimeter doors, our exterior doors are all locked to prevent somebody from entering at any point in time through a different exit. We want to manage the people that come into our buildings in the presence of our faculty, staff, and our students. These limited access vestibules have two key roles for us. The first one is to navigate and vet and approve people from entering our schools for a purpose. The other one is to limit foot traffic in our building. So the first area, as you can see, when you come to one of our schools, there is a buzzer on the outside, the doors are locked. You must press that button. You're greeted by either a monitor or a security aide who will greet you and ask you for the purpose of your visit. At that point in time, you say, oh, I have a meeting with Mr. Smith in the guidance office. At that point in time, the monitor or safety guard will, in fact, vet that meeting, the appointment that you have. Once you're cleared, you will be buzzed into the building and into the vestibule. In this vestibule, you can see there are two small tables on either, these are two separate pictures, obviously, where you will be asked to scan your license. That license scanner will put you through, we will pull the picture from the license into our program that prints out a badge with your photo on it with the destination that you're going to. It also runs your license through a database that we will use to approve you to enter our building. Once you are cleared through both of those venues, you are buzzed into the building, you go to the area where our monitor is, you will provide them with your license. They will then give you your sticker, and we will walk you and escort you to your appointed area. Now, some people question, why do we take people's licenses? The simple truth is it's to guarantee that that person exits the building. That we don't know if they're staying in the building and have ill intent. Whatever it may be, we know that when you come to us to exit the building, you'll get your license back, you'll turn in your badge, and you did, in fact, leave the building. The other aspect is to limit foot patrol, courses in the building. If you bring mail, if you're dropping off paperwork at the high school, if a child has forgotten an instrument or their lunch or needed money, any of those items, we will allow you into the vestibule. There's an area where you write your name and information on a card or your child's name, and you leave it in the vestibule. At that point, that individual exits through the doors are locked, our security team or our monitor will go, retrieve that, bring it into the main office, and then we will bring it to your child. So we're trying to prevent unnecessary use of our building by people that don't belong in there at any point in time. This is an app that we've used for about 4 years or 3 years now. It was launched by the Nassau County Police Department, and all 56 school districts in Nassau County are using it. This is called the RAVE app. It's on our phones. Numerous teachers, many clerical, custodial, and all the administrators have this app on their phone. And it's an app that allows us to directly communicate and reach 911 instantaneously. I'm not sure if you can clearly see it from where you are, but in this center aisle right here, there are 5 buttons that are up there. One is 911, one is police, medical, fire, and the one in orange is called an active assailant. And if we press any one of those, it will then send a message to 911, a specific area of 911 that will be responded to automatically and allows us to silently communicate with 911 in the event. By pressing that active assailant button, there is a full release of resources by our Nassau County and/or Suffolk Police Departments, EMS, emergency medical teams, fire department, ambulance, because that is a full belief that there is an active assailant shooter situation in our building. And this provides us with immediate access. It will unleash a response like no other very, very quickly to our buildings. Providing us with this, you should also know too, it's geolocated specific to the building that your app is designed for. So if you are in this building right here and you press it, they will know exactly where to go. If I'm at another building, or even if I'm home and I press that, it will not send the app, it will not send the alert and force them to respond. So you must be in the geographic area of the building that your phone is attached to in order for it to release this response by the police and medical staff and everybody else that comes to us. One of the things that you may or may not see in our building is called a lockdown button. And these lockdown buttons are amazing tools for us. If you could see up there, in June of 2022, just a few short months ago, New York State passed what's called Alyssa's Law, and it said that districts should, quote unquote, consider the use of a silent panic alarm system. We have had this system in our building since 2015, so we are way ahead of the curve. Happy to say that, happy to show that. And these buttons have a numerous amount of functions that, when they're pressed, take place. They're wall-mounted, they're located in various parts of the building, which I won't disclose, but we have access to them in numerous facilities, upstairs, downstairs, front buildings, back buildings, wherever we need them to be. When we press that button, a number of things automatically transpire and happen. The first is an automatic police notification that we've had a panic alarm button that was pushed. The second is a pre-recorded public announcement done by the building principal, alerting the fact that there is a situation that requires the building to go into lockdown mode. And you're going to see this take place in the movie I'm going to show you. We also have high-powered strobe lights, which I will address in a little while, that help us to alert people in large-scale student gathering areas. If the announcement comes on and you're in the middle of the cafeteria, or if you're at the high school in the band room with over 100 students participating and using their instruments, you may not hear the announcements. These lights are installed in various areas to not only so you could hear it, but they would alert you to that fact. And these lights, which are brand new this year, are indoors and outdoors for the people that are coming to our buildings. Lastly, magnetic door release. What that simply means is all of our classroom doors are held open by a magnet. Our classroom doors are built with a handle that is always in a locked position. Think of a hotel room. The door is always locked. You could use a key, obviously, to get into the door, but once you enter the door, it goes back to a locked position. When we press that lockdown, that wall-mounted emergency lockdown button, every magnetic door in that building is automatically disengaged and closes on its own. That's to prevent students, faculty, and staff from hearing an announcement and having to go to the door, putting themselves in harm's way if there is an active shooter in their hallway at any point in time. So these all happen, and you will see this transpire in a short time. We've had numerous upgrades to our camera system. As little as 4 years ago, we had 200 cameras in the district. Now we have over 800 cameras, both interior and exterior cameras used to help us monitor activities throughout the district and throughout the buildings, day, night. They're very specialized cameras. You can see on your left-hand side, it helps us. We can tag and track an individual who enters and goes through our building. We could follow them from spot to spot with our camera system. We have an auto zoom that we could freeze. We could identify people. We could zoom in on something in their hand, their face. We could get facial recognition and help us to identify people by the use of these cameras. There's a user-friendly interface that allows us to put numerous cameras, up to 40 cameras at a time, on our screen simultaneously so we could observe what's going on in specific areas of the building. And we could create quadrants of cameras, like at the high school, for example, in the commons. And we have 12 cameras in the commons that shows us every angle. Outside, so we could put just the outside exterior cameras up at one time to monitor and supervise on different events. Lastly is an interactive 3D map that these cameras present to us that give us the exact locations and idealistic field of view for each camera so we know what we're looking at and where we're looking as we move forward. These are the strobe lights I talked about. These are brand new for this year. These strobe lights you may have seen on the outside of the buildings. Again, they're located indoors and outdoors. We've installed 80 of them district-wide this past summer. And again, it's just another matter of alerting our students, our faculty and staff, in the case of an emergency, and to take notification and begin their lockdown procedures and get to safety. Safety measures that we've taken. This is a hard subject for us to talk about, but it's a reality that we have to talk about. It's hard for our faculty and staff to have to hear and listen to. There are two components to this screen. The first is that we have offerings to our faculty and staff on a voluntary basis, training programs regarding Stop the Bleed, CPR, and Narcan, giving Narcan to an individual to bring them back during an overdose. On the bottom, you see what's called a Stop the Bleed kit. These are packets about the size of a large sandwich bag, and within them, there are numerous life-saving items. There is packing gauze, there is tape, there are shears and scissors, there are gloves, there is a tourniquet to help stop heavy bleeding during an emergency loss. There's a marker to take notes as you're using it. These packets, we've ordered over 700 of them, and they are hanging up in every office, main gathering area, and classroom in our district. Again, it's a reality for us, but we would rather have it and never use it than not have it at all in case of, God forbid, a true emergency where these uniform items are needed. They're located in the same spot in every classroom. In case we have a substitute or somebody who's in a strange room, everybody knows exactly where these packets are hung up on the classroom wall, and our teachers have been working. I know in the middle school, high school, they've been put up. If they haven't been done in the elementary schools, you may hear your children talk about that soon. They will be going up within a week, that they'll be put up in their walls. And our teachers and staff have been working with their children in their class to explain what they are in a basis so they're not scared. It's just part of the room. But yet, for us, knowing that we have them there is a great comfort. I know and spoke to Homeland Security this week about this. We are one of 2 school districts in all of Nassau County that have these Stop the Bleed kits available for our students and our staff. AEDs. The automated external defibrillator units are throughout our buildings. These are devices, mechanical devices, to help somebody who is having a heart attack or a heart malfunction. These are public. They are hanging up throughout our buildings. We have 18 of them. They've been upgraded most recently over the last year. Again, all of these items have come to us because of the support of the board, who has taken our interest to heart and said, let's use it, let's go. They've budgeted the resources for us to purchase these items. These are hanging up throughout the buildings, 18 of them, as well as multiple portable units. The portable units are used for field trips, for athletic contests that are on the fields far away from the building, so they're always on site for us. And if you're ever in one of our buildings, this is a location map. We have these hanging up in our buildings too. It's a floor plan of the building, a spot kind of you are here with delineations of where the AED devices are within our building for you to locate them in case you are here in the event of an emergency when school is not in session, like tonight, or at an event in the evening when it's a public event. Alarmed exterior doors. As I said, we're in a constant state of lockout, which means that we prevent people from entering through the outside without our knowledge. And the doors are alarmed, so if you do happen to push that panic button door and open it, a loud alarm will sound. It is annoying, it's very loud, and you can hear it. If you ever heard one, you'll know why it draws attention to it. And it's really an effort, once we hear that alarm, to gain a response by building administration or our custodial group or our security team, who can go to identify the need as to why the door was open, who left, or more importantly, if somebody came in by use of that door because it was propped open by somebody when it shouldn't have been. We have safety drills. We work diligently in our schools. We do more than this, but we're required to do 12 drills a year. 8 of them are evacuation drills, like, as you all know, your prototypical fire drill. 4 of them are lockdown drills, and 1 of those will always include a reunification drill. Reunification drill is what we put in place in the event of an emergency where we will not have busing for our students. If an event happens, let's just say at 11 in the morning, and once that event is over, if parents want to come to retrieve their children, we have it where the children are placed in their classrooms, and whatever room they're in, we will know based on the time of day. The parent will come to the school, request their child, photo ID will be vetted. We will then go find your child and bring your child down to you, make the exchange so you can safely bring your child home. And that's in place in all of our buildings, and we could do that from the smallest of schools that we have up to the high school where we have 1,700 students. So this process is in place, and each of our schools will practice this each year. Okay, the next thing I'm going to show you is a short video. It is somewhat edited, as I said before, to protect some of the items that we put in place so that we don't share it. The faculty and staff will see something a little bit more in depth, but you're going to be able to see most of everything that we just talked about kind of in action at this point in time. The Farmingdale School District continues to make safety a top priority. Many of you are sure to have seen buttons such as this, mounted in several locations throughout our buildings. This is an emergency lockdown button and part of our lockdown system. When the button is pressed, it instantly contacts law enforcement and works immediately to secure our buildings. Our lockdown system is designed to protect our school buildings during an active assailant situation. This presentation explains what a lockdown is and an overview of our lockdown system. What is a lockdown? A lockdown is used to secure school buildings and grounds during incidents that pose an immediate threat of violence in or around the school. Activating the lockdown system. To activate the lockdown system, lift up the clear plastic cover of the wall-mounted lockdown button. Push in the red button in the center. Once the red button is pushed in all the way, it will lock in place and you will hear an audible click as well. When the lockdown button is pressed, the following actions occur simultaneously. Police are contacted. Magnetized doors are released, locking and securing classrooms. Pre-recorded lockdown announcement will play over all speakers.
Your attention, please. This is Mr. Herman. There's a situation requiring the school to lock down.
Interior and exterior strobe lights will activate and begin flashing. Farmingdale School District activated lockdown system.
There is a situation requiring the school to lock down. Lock down. Lock down. Lock down.
Your attention, please. This is Mr. Gonzalez. There is a situation requiring the school to lock down. Lock down. Lock down. Lock down.
Strobe lights. Interior strobe lights flash to alert of a lockdown and follow lockdown protocols. Exterior strobe lights flash to warn people away. Strobe lights are equipped in the following areas: cafeterias, gyms, music rooms, auditoriums, entrances, exterior walls, strobe light signage. Strobe light signs will be displayed near all interior and exterior strobe lights. Rave Panic Button. The Farmingdale School District is also equipped with the Rave Panic Button app. The Rave app instantly communicates emergencies to 911, on-site personnel, and first responders for an integrated and immediate response. Lockdown drills. New York State Education Law Section 807 requires all New York State schools conduct 4 lockdown drills each school year. Please be sure to review your building's emergency protocols. While it is our hope we never have to use this button, it is always best to be prepared in the event of an emergency. Thank you for viewing this presentation. If you have any questions regarding the lockdown system, please feel free to reach out to a member of your building administration team for assistance. Okay, so that gives you a brief insight of some of the processes that we have in place. And you should know, we're proud of what we've done. With the support of the board, as I mentioned before, the vision of numerous stakeholders from the public and the district-wide safety committee. Jeff, could you help me out on that, please? Sorry about that. As that's coming up, and the district-wide safety committee, we work hand in hand with 3 major agencies: Nassau County Police, the Suffolk County Police, since we have a school in Suffolk County, as well as Homeland Security. And we work with them on a continuous basis. And we are one of the districts that is focused and is really emulated by other districts. Many occasions, I will have outside schools from different venues. I'm not ready to talk about tax levies, that's for sure. I'll scare people if I try and attempt that. We're emulated, I'm proud to say that, where I will have typically 4 or 5 districts from outside of Farmingdale come to visit us to look at our safety protocols. And each one, when I ask, how did you hear about us, it's because the police departments and Homeland Security recommend that they come to see what we've done in our district so they can make their plans to move forward. So we are proud that we are advanced in all of those methods. Last item I want to talk about briefly is security in Farmingdale. As much as we have the infrastructure with all of the items that you saw, having men and women who are our security detail to help apply these items and help protect us on a daily basis is really important. As little as 6 years ago, we had 6 security guards district-wide, all of whom were stationed at Farmingdale High School to assist with student supervision. When you had 2,000 students and 3,500 staff, there was a requirement that needed assistance to help us in that detail. Now, over time, we've recognized the fact that we need that type of security in all of our buildings, and on a daily basis, we supply and support 41 security guards in our schools during the day as well as at night. Security is placed both indoors and outdoors in some school, and at night, the buildings are still in a state of lockout. We have security that works and manages each one of our buildings as well. We are really focused now, and this whole plan is being implemented basically as we speak, literally. We have the support of the board to extend the supervisory role of our security guards, and we're adding 2 new positions to the district. The first is a district-wide Dean of Student Conduct and Strategic Planning, and that individual is going to help us not only with the infrastructure the camera maintenance, the lockdown buttons, the lights functioning, all of those things. They're going to liaison with all of the building administrators to work with the personal building leadership teams, as well as the safety teams in each building, to tabletop and to manage and supervise all of their drill work. They will be a liaison across all buildings to regain consistency in what each building is supposed to do during emergency setup and during a lockdown and during drills. That position is also going to help oversee the security that we have in district. On your left, you'll also see that we will have a lead security supervisor. And that supervisor is going to be a new hire that we're going to have. It's almost our boots on the ground type of individual who's going to go to each school every day in the morning, in the afternoon, or at night and work with our security staff to ensure that they are doing what is expected of them from a security standpoint, their interactions with the public when they come during the day, or especially at night when the schools are closed to students but open to the general public, and ensure the fact that everybody is following a precise detail. Even though, as I said before, we are emblematic and we are somebody that everybody recommends and really aspires to be, we're not going to rest on our laurels. We want to continue to get better and refine our skill set. And having these positions in place to not only oversee the infrastructure, but to oversee the security teams that we have in place is going to be a huge benefit to all of us moving forward. Looking ahead, again, we're not resting on our laurels. If you're good, get better. If you're great, be excellent. And that's what kind of the motto that we're following. We're going to continue to work. I'm on a district-wide safety committee, and we have about 40 members of the community and the school community that are a part of that team from different venues, everybody from fire to bus safety to the police to Homeland Security, who all are a part and bring their level of expertise to look at our systems, to manage our systems, and to make recommendations. And better than that, all 6 of our schools have their own internal building safety committees that not only are part of the larger safety committee, but bring those messages back to their building specifically. We will continue to work with BOCES, who has a safety compliance officer that we work with on a weekly basis to ensure that not only are we following the rules, but we're in compliance with all laws and regulations on a daily basis. Lastly, we have continued collaboration with both the Nassau County and Suffolk County Police Departments, as well as Homeland Security. Continued attendance at safety conferences that I and/or my staff attends, depending on if there's an emergency. Nassau County will call. Commissioner Ryder had a meeting just last month that we went to. So we attend all of these meetings at the request and invitation of the police departments, who help us out tremendously. And lastly, as Mr. Defendini said, if we want to get better, you need to know what you're not doing well. And that's going to be part of a survey that we're going to release probably in the next couple of weeks, where we'll be asking people for your input, not only on the physical plant and the physical infrastructure and safety, but also of the emotional and psychological safety feelings that your children exhibit, so that we can look at those results, work on that throughout the year, try to make the improvements that we have, identify needs that we may be missing, and then send out a follow-up survey in the spring to kind of say, hey, how'd we do? This is where we were, this is what you said, this is where we are, and try to move and advance in an improvement level as we move forward throughout the year. At this time, I will ask the board if you have any questions that I can help to clarify or answer for you. Okay, if there were any questions by the community during the public participation portion of our meeting, be happy to entertain those questions at that point in time. I'm going to turn over to Mr. Defendini, who is going to introduce our next speaker.